Hello everyone, and welcome to the fourth and final part of how I made Space Ghost. In this video we're going to be going over texturing, polish, and how I made the base. I really hope you've enjoyed this video series. Please hit the subscribe button and like this video as well. I'll see you all in the comments. Peace. We're going to start off in Substance here. I made a layer of dirt and I masked it out, and now I'm just bringing that layer of dirt onto my model using a dirt brush so that everything's a little noisy and random. I want Space Ghost in the renders to appear clean, but if you do something absolutely clean, it doesn't look very real at all. So I just want a subtle amount of dirt and grime, like he's been out there, he is wearing white, white gets a little bit dirty. It's just going to give him a bit more realism. If you look at the reference from Munk, when we up the contrast in the first video, you can see that there's a layer of dirt and grime in the Superman. So we just want a little bit of that here in Space Ghost. And you can see me adding it to the leathers, just about everywhere. You see me treating my edges. Edges end up getting, well, not a lot of dirt collects at the pointy edges, but they do get worn down. I'm trying to just get a layer of dirt on everything. In the end, you'll see in the final renders, I'll take these layers from Substance and I'll turn them way down. I usually paint with them at higher contrast so I can see where everything is and just kick it back as I go along and render things. And you can see, just like with the sculpting phase, I'm trying to do my texturing phase in passes where I put a little bit of dirt and grime on every piece as I go along, and I don't just focus on one piece by itself. I'm trying to get a little bit of interest built into the cape. You'll see I'll scale a lot of this back, but we don't want things that are just perfect, solid colors. It doesn't look real. If you look at even your own clothes or clothes that you've worn for a while, things get a little bit worn down. They get a little bit, it's not dirty so much, you know, things just fade, edges get worn down, threads start pulling, dye starts getting washed out. You know, maybe there's some bleach stains. Rubber tends to dry out. So when it does that, when it gets a little bit more dry, it's going to appear a bit more gray. The other thing is too is, you know, you're not that many things in PBR go to absolute black. Well, nothing does. Like even charcoal is not like an absolute black, so it can be bad to go too far into black. It may not render correctly. I'm still probably a bit too close for comfort, but we'll rock with it. And make sure when you're painting some of this like edge wear and whatnot that you're also adjusting the roughness underneath so that's actually getting dried out, because you'll see again in the end I'm gonna take a lot of this albedo information and I'm gonna tone it way down, you know, because the roughness is what we want to get kind of dry, right? And you can see here I do start from like a smart material for the metal, but I end up going into all the masks and dirt and doing all the edge treatment by hand. I feel that edge treatment by hand always looks better than something that's algorithmic, you know. We're artists and we're here to tell stories, so going in there and hand picking where you're gonna place all this stuff, it just feels better in the end. Like here you see I'm putting a little bit of dirt right around where I think it would collect around those buttons or lights where like they wouldn't be easily cleaned, and I know we won't see that up close, but overall it gives everything just a better read. Here I'm going to start fading out the leather on, you know, the underwears and whatnot. Adding some dirt. Again, you look at the final renders, this is all going to be toned down, but we want to be able to see it while we're working with it. Here you can see all that dirt and grime that we've painted is present. It's really subtle. I've kicked it back quite a bit, but it's there and it feels good. I've let his cape be dirty because I feel like it drags. As you go lower, it looks like he has a bit more dirt where he'd be closer to the ground or flying through the air and hitting things. Now here, this is just me building the base. I use Zmodeler for the whole thing. The whole thing is done in Zbrush. I think learning to build basic shapes like this in Zmodeler can really help you learn the tool a lot better. So it was actually fun to do this. You can see I'm just extruding. I'm going to be doing some creasing. And all I do is I Dynamesh the high poly object and put it into Marmoset and throw some flat materials on it. Nothing special. You can see how fast this is to make though. Z-remesher, clipping brushes, some extrusions and creasing, and we're going to be pretty good. I'm also using dynamic subdivisions. So that's about it. Once we get our materials in done, you know, you put that in a Marmoset. And what we want to do is we want to go back to the high poly and polish up all those parts that we talked about earlier. There was a lot of wrinkles and things that weren't quite reading that need to be pushed so they read in the renders and just so they look better in the bakes. And so that's what we're going to do now. And this stage is fairly fast because everything's there. You know, we're just punching up the detail. And we're looking at our reference and we're looking at our renders and we're looking at what needs to be popped. You might think, you know, oh, these wrinkles are kind of deep, but I don't know, they weren't really reading before and now they are. So, or they weren't reading the way I wanted them to before and now they are. You can see here in the final model, everything put together. It feels good, right? We've got a Marvelous, we've got Substance Painter, we've got ZBrush, and it's all just come together. This was a lot of fun to make, and I hope you enjoyed watching it. I'm going to do more series like this. Please, if you guys want requests or have questions, leave those things in the comments. Until next time, everybody, this is JoeSolo. Peace.